Hey, what's up guys? This is Old Painless back, giving you another look at a third-party figure, and today we are looking at Warbotron's WBO3-D. That's quite a bit to say right there. That's basically their DoubleStrike figure, which is their interpretation of Strafe from Computron. So it is their interpretation of the figure. It's not going to be masterpiece focused, a little bit more maybe Chug inspired. Where that all falls in line in your collection, that's completely up to you. We'll go into scale and all that fun stuff in a little bit here. But first, let's go ahead and just take a look to see what came included in the box here with Strafe, or DoubleStrike. So we do have a collector's card, which is my favorite thing in the whole world. Nice artwork though. I like Computron's, or Warbotron rather. I like their artistic take on the characters and whatnot. Looks pretty good. Some stats and whatnot right there too, and a nice picture of Computron in the background. We'll get to him eventually, not in this review though. We'll toss that aside. We do get the instruction manual. There we go. And pretty good instructions. Pretty detailed. Goes over the robot to alt mode, then also to the arm mode configurations, and then on the back we do see that same Computron picture there, which looks pretty nice. Go ahead and put that aside. And a lot of people were concerned about, you know, where are my wrist connectors for my Computron, because Scattershot came out before this guy, and there was no actual connection to plug the hands in, which came with that figure. So Strafe does come with these two sort of gunmetal gray plastic pieces. This one actually plugs into Strafe, and this one plugs into Afterburner. And kind of unique setups here. They basically fit specific to each bot. You can see there's different lengths of the plastic right there to go into the wrist. This one actually comes apart in two pieces right there. And this one actually pulls apart like that. So we'll show you the installation of this piece probably today. But these do come included, worry not, but we're going to go ahead and put those aside for right now. I think he looks great. I mean, I did have the G1 toy as a kid. This obviously is a much more modern look and take on the figure, but I think it's pretty reminiscent to what I remember of that figure. The head sculpt looks phenomenal. He does have really good light piping as well, which I think is popping up on camera. There we go. Sort of the trademark shoulder wings, although these are a little bit odd in their design, but they do have them there. The back cannons, which in this case they're actually attached to a backpack instead of the shoulders like in the G1 toy, but I think that really attaches pretty cleanly. And if the sagging backpack kind of annoys you, you can actually fold these gun handles down if you want to kind of get this backpack a little bit more upright. So options to kind of display and pose those cannons if you want to. Paint apps everywhere. You know, we do have some red, white plastic, you know, black and dark gray, gold applied, gold here. Obviously the sort of that off shaded red, silver tips, white plastic. Great color breakup all throughout the upper body. The head sculpt has an orange plastic eye right there, red face, you know, white throughout it as well. Coming down to the pelvis area, red, silvers, gold on the legs, and then, you know, sort of that dark gray plastic mixed throughout. Reds, golds, orange clear plastic, silver painted tips, red fin feet. Even the interior leg has some nice detail painted in there pretty cleanly. But all in all, I think he's a pretty sharp looking figure. There we go. I like him quite a bit. Just very stylized. Just a nice modern update to the figure itself, which I really dig. In terms of posability, this one isn't really hampered with the issues that the earlier figures in the line had. Shoulders can get the full extension upwards, quite nice. You do have a nice bend on the elbow there as well. Upper bicep swivel, you get that as well. Wrist pivots, all that fun stuff. Single hinged fingers. Head is on a ball joint, gets you a full rotation. You can cheat a downward looking motion by the transformation right there. Hips are on a ratchet, give you a pretty full range up. You can move these hip skirts to get out of the way. Good range back. Van Damme splits if you want to. Knees go less than 90 degrees, although you can sort of unhinge the wing a little bit and cheat it if you have to. No biggie. The toes are on a bit of a rocker. You break the sculpt, so it does look kind of goofy, but you do have some articulation there. And then this toe actually does pivot, so you get, you know, some decent articulation there to pose the figure. So all in all, I mean, it gives you all the articulation you're looking for. Knees are a little bit limited, but other than that, I mean, I think it's pretty spot on for what you're looking for. And just for some size comparisons really quickly, I'm not going to actually break out the rest of the team yet. I'll save that for a Computron combined review. But just for some quick size comparisons, that's how he scales next to a Masterpiece car. I mean, again, aesthetically, he may not fit the criteria. It is a little bit more chuggish in terms of his look. There's a lot more line and panel detail on the Computron figures. That's kind of their thing, design-wise. But if you're looking for something scaled with an MP car, I mean, this is basically head-to-head. And just for another size quickly, MP10 Optimus. I think that looks pretty good. Just for scale reference, Scattershot, the leader class figure for this set, is just about MP10's height, about maybe half a head shorter, which I'll show off in another review. But again, I think that's a scale that I like. I think it works pretty well. And might as well get MP10 in the shot there too. Let's go ahead and pull these guys out. In terms of any concerns or complaints, well, nothing really major. There's no stress marks. That's been a great change for this line. Obviously, their Bruticus does one of the biggest concerns with the plastic quality. Some, frail tolerances, some stress marks here and there on various figures. This one continues the trend for the new line. There's no stress marks. The plastic feels much more robust. I mean, overall, this just feels way more premium in hand. And I'm a huge, huge fan of just the improvements that they've made on their Computron line. So with that being said, I think it's a good time. We'll start getting this guy transformed and we'll show off that vehicle mode. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this sucker transformed. And one thing I did want to show off before we got too far into that was just how well he actually holds the weapons right here. So we can go ahead and just fold down the handle, pop that into his hand, and he holds that like a champ. I mean, that's a nice tight grip. Very, very solid. But in order to get him prepped for transformation, we'll go ahead and take off all the weapons and then pull off these wingtips here. So it's some minor parts forming, but no big deal. It all gets reused and it's fairly minor in the grand scheme of things. And the first thing we want to do here is we'll take care of the hands. So this flap back here is going to open up, rotate the hand, and push the fingers in first, and we'll leave the flap extended like so. Nice and easy. The head's going to turn around 180. This panel will go up to help cover the face. And then we're going to rotate the torso 180. So what we want to do now is extend this backpack down. And there's a peg here, which will go right into that crotch peg there, pretty securely. And then this really isn't tricky, but it's probably the toughest part of the transformation. The shoulders need to go upwards. We need to have the open part of the shoulder here where you get the full extension, because right here it's closed off. This needs to be facing downwards. And before you move it down all the way, we need to rotate the forearm 180. And the idea is we're putting this peg into the side there, on the backpack, and this peg here on the flap will go into the torso right there. So we'll go ahead and take care of that. Again, it's not tough, it's just a little bit of a tight tolerance. That actually went in super smooth right there. And then go ahead and peg. Come on, baby. There we go. And that will peg in right there. Alright, so now with the upper body basically secured in together and everything pegged in nice and tight, we can go ahead and start looking at the legs here. Just kind of raise this up out of the way, the little hip panel for right now. And what we want to do is untab the wing from the back of the leg. And then we want to actually, before you extend it out perpendicular to the leg, we want to keep it sort of flush like this, so this joint is back still. And that will give us the clearance to rotate this 180 like so. And we want to kind of rock it upwards just a little bit. That'll give us the clearance here. What's going to end up happening is there's a peg there on the base of the wing, which is going to go into that little gap there on the heel or the side of the foot. So you just want to line that up gently like so, and then push straight down until you get a click. And the top of the red wing right here will line up just like that against the that dark gray plastic. And then this will basically come to the base of the foot right there. Alright guys, so with both wings done, what we want to do next is get the legs collapsed inwards. And we can also straighten out those little ankle or toe tilts there too. A lot of people like to peg their legs together then compress. I typically just do them individually, because what you want to do here with these hip flaps is line the tip there on the hip flap into that peg there on the leg. So slide that down, compress that together, rinse and repeat, and then once those are locked in nice and tight, you can peg the legs together, and that is basically the body of the ship done right there. Next step we're going to do is grab these little wings, and these are going to go onto the side just like so. You can use the peg hole to straighten out that hinge joint right there. So plug in, extend. Now this little peg here will plug into the top right there, and that is Strafe in his spaceship mode. And man, that's pretty nice. You do have landing gear here, which can fold down from the arm flaps, and these do roll, and you do also have rolling wheels at the base of the feet right there. So that looks pretty sharp actually. That it's essentially an air blast remold from their Warbotron Bruticus line, and it is. I mean, if you think about it, this transforms almost identically to that figure. The legs compress, the arms fold backwards, rotate back down with a flap on the side. So there is some ideas and engineering borrowed from that figure, but I think aesthetically, I mean, this is night and day different, and I mean, just everything all around in this figure just feels so much better done. You know, I don't mind that they're sort of borrowing some ideas and retooling it into a new figure. I mean, there's plenty going on here that feels new. I mean, if you look at stuff like Combiner Wars, where it's essentially just repaints, this doesn't give any kind of vibe whatsoever that's like a repainted figure. Yeah, it has some characteristics of the transformation, but it definitely feels unique enough, and it's enjoyable that, you know, I'm definitely okay with that. So, but yeah, I think it's a good looking spaceship. It's big too. I mean, I'm a big guy. That's a decent sized hand. I mean, that's pretty solid. And just for a size comparison, I mean, from top to bottom, I mean, we're looking at the size of MP10 almost, so good size spaceship. Alright guys, so the last thing I want to show you here is the transformation to arm mode. Again, I'm not going to show you the final combined form. I'm going to actually do that in a separate video, but I wanted to at least give you the steps to get to that point right there. So let's go ahead and pull these guns out, pull off the fins, pull these legs apart, and extend them just for now to give us some clearance. There's going to be some variations here that we can do with these legs, but I'll show you my preferred method for the transformation. We're going to just carefully bend this down. One word of note, I mean, this is on a small hinge here, but it feels pretty robust. Like, I don't feel like that's going to break, but, you know, just be careful. I mean, you're basically doing a lot of manipulation of this whole joint here on that hinge, so just be careful. Rotate this back. There's a peg there on the base of the wing, which goes into the back of the leg. And there we have the legs basically done. We can fold the toe fins up, and that's the lower part of the arm essentially done. What we want to do next is get these arms untabbed to loosen up that backpack. Just like so. We can kind of loosen this up as well. We want to unpeg that. Now this is a little bit trickier. Some of these, I got that open pretty easily that time, but that can be a tight tolerance right there. What we want to do here is rotate this upper body backwards, and these two pegs are going to go into those holes there in the back. So rotate that back, and while we're doing that, we fold the head in, and then we can reclose that chest portion back up, and then this will just click into place nice and firm. We can pull the combiner port out, which is on a nice solid ratchet, and then we can fold that flap down to help cover the head up. But nice and easy. The arms are going to rotate back around like so. We want the open gap on the top part of the arm there facing this right here, and we want to rotate the lower arm so this portion, this peg or sculpted feature, will go right into there. And it's not really a tight peg, but it goes in nonetheless. So, and we just kind of keep the arm positioned like that. Okay, so with both arms sort of situated here on the side, again, they don't really peg into place, but they kind of sit there nice and firmly. We're going to go ahead and take this backpack, rotate this up. The guns, a couple ways you can do this. There is a hole there on the base of the handle, which basically can plug in like so. I find that's not the best solution because you can see it has a natural tolerance or tendency to bend to the side. So not the way I like to do it. Instead, I just replug these back into the backpack. Just like so. That's a nice firm connection right there. And then what you can do with these wings is put them into the side, and you can kind of angle them however you like to, up, back. I kind of prefer them like that. There we go. And then for the legs, you can keep the arms fully extended, and so you have additional knee articulation like that. That's not my preferred way to do it. Instead, I like to actually condense the legs a little bit. Not all the way, but just to kind of slide them down a little bit, give it more of a natural proportion. I don't mind missing that articulation for the knee bend. And before we close everything back up, we want to take this piece, which is actually two pieces. We'll put this piece inside first. Oops. Peg these together. Nice and tight. And then this piece will slide over. There's 2 pegs here on the base, which go into the base of the foot right there. And that pops in nice and tight. And then you have some options in terms of how you want to display your arm. So a lot of promotional pictures will show the wings facing forward. I prefer the wings facing back to have this additional detail. So that's how I'll do it. One thing that you want to do, here we go, is that the wings actually do tab together. So there's a system of tabs and sort of holes here that are opposite each other. So the wings do tab together like so, and then they do peg down to the back of the leg. So it's a really firm, tight connection. The wings are not floppy at all. I mean, they really secure and really tightly and cleanly. And then what you can do is grab a hand and pop that onto the peg. Oops. I'll do it like this. And then that is your arm. And even with the legs closed back to give it a more natural look, I mean, you get probably more than what Feral Rex's arm extension was, or arm articulation. And that's nearly 90 degrees. And that's the arm. Get that in frame. A good side look. I think that looks fantastic. That's actually one of the best combiner arms and appendages I've seen. So super clean. I think it looks very, very nice. There you go. And I actually like on this gun that you can flip down Scattershot's handle and use it as a trigger for the combiner hand. Nice little touch. Alright guys, so final thoughts on Warbotron's WBO3-D DoubleStrike, aka Strafe. You know what, he works for me. It's a figure that's been kind of had a lukewarm reception in the collectors community, and I understand why. I mean, he definitely doesn't read G1 accurate. He definitely has sort of Warbotron's sort of spin and take on the character, and but you know, that's why I kind of appreciate it. It has enough aesthetic elements that it reminds me of Strafe as a kid, that I don't mind it. I can look past some of the liberties that they've taken with the character. I think it looks close enough, and I really do find it pleasing. I understand it's not a masterpiece in terms of aesthetic and design, and that's okay. You know, it's meant to be more what they call a chugger piece or cluster piece, where it can kind of fit multiple sort of display types. But again, I think it's a pretty solid representation. I mean, the bot to me looks phenomenal. The head sculpt is Warbotron, you know, at its finest. I think it's a killer head sculpt. I think the alt mode, again, it might be a little bit uninspired, but it gets the job done, and it might be a little thick in the body and a little lean from left to right, but it does ring true, and again, it really reminds me of you know, my toy as a kid. So, and on top of that, he makes probably one of the best combiner arms I've seen. Just well proportioned, very clean. That's kind of an ongoing theme with this figure. It just cleans up very well in all the different forms, in my opinion. So, if you're already buying Warbotron's Computron set, you're obviously already in on this figure. I certainly don't think you'll be disappointed. It definitely rings a lot of the little, or tugs those little nostalgic heartstrings for me. I'm really enjoying this figure in particular, more so than some of the others. If you're looking for just a standalone Strafe figure, you know, that's really up to you to decide if it really meets the criteria and if it really gives you the look and feel that you want in your collection. Definitely works for me though. I'm happy I picked this up, and I'm definitely happy with Warbotron's Computron in its final form too, which I'll get to in a little bit. But for now though, thank you for checking out this review. I'm gonna have some more coming up soon. I do want to go over the remainder of the Computron line. I may get to the Warbotron Bruticus line as well, but those are a little bit older at this point. Generation Toys, Scraper and Mixmaster coming up probably soon as well. So I do have some stuff on the back burner I'm working on. But if you like what you see, please subscribe. I would appreciate that. I'm sort of new to the review game, but I'm really itching to get my my feet wet, I guess, if you will, and get some more content out there for you guys. But other than that, guys, have a great night, and thanks for watching.